Once again, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome. Thank you again for your patience. All of our guests are with us now, and sorry to interrupt your visiting once again, but you have to be quiet for a longer period of time now. So I thank you for being here today as we gather to honor and remember Rick Howell. Rick passed away doing what he loved most, driving his truck. The open road was where he felt at home. It was more than just a job to him, it was a way of life. He took great pride in his work and dedicated decades to the transport and trucking industry, a career he was respected for and loved until the very end, until the absolute very end. But for all of his miles on the road, Rick's greatest treasure was his family. He cherished the energy and the laughter and the love that filled his home, and he wouldn't have traded that liveliness for anything. He was a kind and generous man, the kind who stood up for the little guy, who valued fairness, and who carried a steady strength that people admired. And if there's one thing that we would like folks to carry away from today is Rick's example of standing up for the little guy. That's what he stood for, and we all got to do that. We all got to look at these folks that are maybe disadvantaged in some way or being bullied or whatever, but we stand up for them, those of us that can. Let his legacy help us with that moving forward. So today we come together to remember Rick, a man who lived fully, a man who worked hard and who loved deeply. His journey may have ended on the road, but his kindness, his humor, and his devotion to his family will continue to travel on through all of you. My name is Todd Reinholdt, and I have the honor of serving as your life celebrant this morning, almost afternoon. It is a privilege to stand alongside Rick's family and all of you as we gather to celebrate his life and to share in this time of remembrance. I wish I could take away your pain and assure you that everything will be fine after today. I wish I could tell you that today will bring total healing and will make life better for you, that everything will be fine, but I can't. What I hope for is that our time together will bring a measure of comfort and peace to your heavy hearts, and a morning that will offer space for reflection, shared stories, and a reminder that you are never alone, that you're not alone through this challenging time. I want to give everybody a heads up that a little later on, Rick's family has asked that I open the floor and invite folks forward who may have a short story or memory to share. So I kind of wanted to give you the heads up, because when that happens without a warning, you're all going, oh my God, I can't think of anything, and then all of a sudden it's over, and then you're like, oh shit, now you know I'm not a priest. So anyways, got your warning, folks. And we're saying short story or memory because there's a lot of you and not a lot of time. So anyways, just kind of bear that in mind. So Rick was born in Rainy River, Ontario on October 28, 1950, and died on July 25th of this year near Vermilion, Alberta. He was 74 the day his story here concluded. For those of you wondering just where the heck Rainy River, Ontario is, well, I had to look. It is on the border of Canada and the United States in northwestern Ontario, just north of the state of Minnesota. Now, if you're thinking, is that close to Toronto? Everybody in the United States, is Edmonton close to Toronto? Well, no, it's not close to Toronto. Closest major center to Rainy River would be Winnipeg, actually. So even though there's a little geography for you, not that you wanted that, you're wondering, what the hell is this guy doing? Even though some time has passed, folks, since Rick died, when we were faced with such an unexpected departure of someone we love and somebody who has been in our lives for a very long time, I'm certain that everybody in July found themselves grappling with shock, with sadness, perhaps even anger, and probably still feeling those same emotions as you try to process this life-changing time, all of which is completely normal. This is what happens. There are many important reasons that we come together when we lose one of our own, whether we call it the memorial service or the funeral or the life celebration, which is what today is, celebrating his life. But we gather as Rick's people to remember his character. We gather to be together in grief from his passing and to offer love and support to one another during this most challenging time. A priority today is to provide comfort for Rick's family, who are dealing with a profound and life-changing event. This is huge. To his son Ken and spouse Sandy, his son Tony and spouse Patricia, his daughter Michelle and spouse James, son Scott and spouse Julie, to his son/nephew Reese, to his grandchildren. Here we go with the village, guys. When I was reading these names, I'm like, is this for real? Did I have a stroke or something? So to his grandchildren, Sam, Tanya, Tom, Danielle, Lizzie, Jake, Brandon, Shayla, Jessica, Michael, Megan, Jeff, Connor, Brandon, Haley, Nicholas, Jacqueline, Alexander, Veronica, Victoria, Lynn, Marie, Josh, Devin, Ryan, Samantha, and Tyler. Hope we didn't miss anybody. Not that you'd notice. And to his great-grandchildren, Lincoln, Jax, Torin, Eden, Oliver, Aaliyah, Malia, Caitlin, Parker, Bella, Preston, Travis, Catalina, Brady, Cadence, and two great-grandchildren, Kason and Lily. So first off, fertility is not an issue in the Howell family. Not an issue. Look what this man has done from little Rick, boom. What a gift, what a gift. He lives on in all of these people in this village, the Howell village, and that is incredible. So for all of these names that I just mentioned, I want you all to know that it is an honor for everybody in this room to join you this morning in remembering your dad and your father-in-law and your grandpa, whose presence and character will always be remembered. When I mentioned everybody in this room, I should also let you folks know that we are live streaming the ceremony today. So we have guests joining us from afar, and we welcome them, and just wanted you to know that we have people joining us from all over. So when your hearts are heavy and you feel like you're living through a dark and lonely time, the worst place to be is alone. And I hope that this gathering will provide you with some comfort knowing that you are not alone going through this challenging time and that you are all loved and supported by your friends and other family members. I liken it to, when we were a little kid and you're going home, we're walking home alone in the dark, and how scary it was. It's dark out and you're scared, you're all alone. Boy, but you have a friend walking beside you, takes away that fear, makes it feel all better. We're those same damn kids, we're just in adult bodies now. It's not cool to be walking alone, so you guys, you're never alone. Last July 25th, your lives were forever changed in what probably felt like a split second. When you woke up that morning, nobody had any idea of what the day was about to bring them. Now, these sudden life-altering events are like that of a devastating tornado that sweep in unexpectedly, reshaping lives in an instant, reshaping the landscape. They bring with them this sense of numbness and confusion and shock, deep sadness, and a host of other emotions. The impact is profound and indescribable. There are no words. That day he left, your world changed in an instant. Everything was different. And I'm almost certain that you were still grappling with these turbulent feelings and more. You're probably thinking, why is this still happening to me? It's been a couple months. This is going to happen for a while, folks. This doesn't go away quickly. I just want to assure you that whatever it is that each of you is feeling is okay. It's because it's yours. You're not going to feel like the person sitting next to you, like the person sitting next to them. We all process these losses uniquely and different because we are different people. That's how it's supposed to be. Your grief is as unique as your thumbprints. So everybody will be grieving differently. Everybody will have had different relationships with Rick. Everybody will have different backgrounds and upbringings. And so don't look at the fellow next to you and say, why isn't he crying, or why is he crying so much? It's because that's what's right for them. And you need to accept that. You need to invite Mother Grief in. She's a lot stronger than you are. Bring her in, sit her down at the kitchen table, let her be. You can't sweep grief under the carpet. You can't sweep it away. You can't pretend it's going to go away because it's there. So that pain you're feeling, I said, which is grief, and it's normal. During grief, this painful time, you may feel emotions you never imagined. I want to assure you that you're all safe. Some folks think that they're going crazy, that they're absolutely going nuts. It's because there's such a big change. And I want you also to know that these feelings that you have are not a sign of weakness. They're not a sign that you're a weirdo or that something strange is going on. They are a product of love. That's all that is going on. Love and grief. One cannot exist without the other. So today will hopefully comfort your heavy hearts. However, please be patient and forgiving of yourselves as you continue moving forward from today, as this is a monumental adjustment for you, and it will take time to recover from. Many believe that days like today, the memorial or the funeral or the life celebration is an ending. It's an ending, and that is absolutely not true. The opposite is actually true. The days like today are the beginning. These are a beginning to a start to life without Rick physically alongside, physically with you. It's a start to trying to get to know the new you in this new world, because things are different. You are different people now. You are living in a different world. So it's a start to life in this strange new world you find yourself in. For Rick's children and grandchildren, all 700 of them, like, my God. You've never known life without him. The minute you arrived here on earth, he was here already. So this is going to be scary and a little overwhelming. You've never known what it's like to live without your dad and grandpa. So please know that this room and our gathering today is a safe place. You are safe here, safe to mourn, safe to express that hurt that you feel. That goes for boys too. Okay, so boys, you're allowed to cry. Nobody's going to judge it. I think I hear so often, I've got to be strong. I've got to go in there, I've got to be a hero, got to be strong. You don't have to be anything but yourself here, folks. That's what today is all about, is being you, expressing what's going on. Nobody's going to judge you. Nobody's going to go, oh my God, did you see Scott got upset at his dad's service? Nobody's going to talk like that. So just want you to feel safe. Feel safe to feel robbed, because you have been. Safe to just be yourself. Safe to laugh. Rick would probably want you all laughing, right? I would think. That just sounds like him. But he would understand that your hearts are heavy. So whatever is on your hearts, I want you to feel safe here to express that without judgment. That's a very important part of today. Know that you're not judged, except I'm going to judge you all, but I can gossip about you when I go home. I'm teasing. I'm not at all going to gossip. I come here from a place of love and to care for families that are traveling these challenging journeys, and that's my job here today. So I'm going to pause there for a few moments, and we've got some speakers lined up for you today. I'm going to invite Rick's son, Ken, forward, who will share his life tribute with us. Dan might want to go this way, Ken. Right in front. Yeah. And just don't have to adjust the legs at all. Okay.
Okay, as you know, I'm Ken. I was Rick's sorry, I didn't see this coming. I'm Rick's oldest son. Sure, a lot of people here that I don't recognize, and that's cool, because that was Dad. Dad had another family, the trucking family. If you're here, whoop 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 whoop. Right? If you're not part of that trucking family, thank you for being here. Of course, as you already know, I have a village for a family. You named them all off. I can't. It's alive. They grow every time I come up, but I live away from the nucleus of my family, so I'm not around a lot, so they have grown. I'm always at family gatherings, and some little kid will come up to me and give me an elbow, right? And I got to go, "Who are you?" And they'll tell me, and I got to introduce them as, "Well, I'm your crazy Uncle Ken that you weren't warned about." And they go, "We know." I got to tell you, I sat in my cave drinking lots of beer doing this, and I figured out editing and speaking into something, and it writes it down. So I had to melt this down from about 7,500 words. So I hope I melted well. I know you've seen in the booklet and an announcement of the obituary, but it's prudent that I mention that my dad was born in 1950. That was the decade rock and roll was born, and my dad sticks to country. Makes no sense to me. But I did get him listening to Leonard Skinner, and he actually liked it. Well, there was another thing in 1950 that would have a lasting impact on my dad, and he didn't even see it coming. The Trans-Canada Highway construction began to help Canadians get across the country. Who would have thought the world's best trucker would be born at the same time his home away from home would start? He works in mysteries, that fucking God. Okay, we've established my dad was born in 1950, and although rock and roll was born, he stuck with country. No, that's not the reason. I brought it up because I'm 63. That would mean my dad was a dirty young man. But I'll explain how this all went down. This silly man, who was 6 years junior of my mother, decided to start chasing her at 17 years of age. But my mother wouldn't have anything to do with him until he was 18. I guess because she was an adult and he wasn't old enough to buy beer yet. Just so you know, in 67 it was 21 years old to buy beer. So I'm thinking he was infatuated with the bootlegger. Long story short, he turned 18 and showed up serenading my mother and winning her heart. The reason I said I was 63 is at this time I was 6. My brother Tony was 4, and my sister Michelle was 2. What was going through an 18-year-old's mind? A woman with 3 little native kids. At 18, I was just worried about having a baggie in my pocket and figuring out which bar I was going to go to and what band I was going to go see. And I'm glad you two are here because you were part of that scene, Mike and Don. So, not chasing women who were older than me. Well, sometimes I would. And especially with 3 native kids under 6 years of age. Makes no sense to me. But that was my dad. Not only did he chase her, he went and married her before he was 19 years old. Not even 19, 3 kids. What a ride. Before they married, we had moved from Edmonton to the big metropolis of Kenora, where Dad spent his time being a milkman. Yes, I know, a milkman. He actually had a lot to do with traumatizing me there. I remember going to my first day of school, telling all the kids, my dad caught Husky the Muskie. And if for you that don't know, it was a big statue of a muskie outside of Kenora. Why would he do that to a little native kid back in those days? But that was my dad. The one thing I looked forward to at that age was going on milk runs on Saturday with Dad. And even to this day, every time I smell sour milk, it takes me back. The other thing I remember during those times was him trying to get me to drink buttermilk. Couldn't do it. Just couldn't do it. Liked the chocolate milk, but I couldn't do the buttermilk. But he did get me into the cottage cheese, which I still love to this day. The other thing I remember vividly was the house we shared as a bona fide family at this time, because we did the usual. Moved in with the parents when we first got there, but it wasn't for very long before Dad worked his ass off and got us a big, beautiful house down by the lake. Remember? Eh? Backyard was full of raspberry bushes, and we'd always go out there and pick raspberries. And it was great because we'd have buckets of it. And Dad, being a milkman, what did he have? He had all the cream in the world. I love raspberries and cream still. After the big house, we moved to a bigger neighborhood because Dad didn't like the idea that I had to walk all the way to school. Yeah, back in those days, we had to walk. Uphill, 4 feet of snow. But we had to walk. Come on, we had to walk. It's the bottom line. And he didn't like us doing all that walking, going through some shady areas, so he moved us to the burbs, I guess you want to call it that. But yeah. After we moved and spent some time there, then we moved to the next metropolis, Red Lake. Dad took a job being a bigger, better milkman. He took over being the milkman, supplying all the stores, the mines. He was the guy. Right, Frank? Frank, he took over from Frank. He used to be the big, best, bigger milkman there. The best part of that was A, the house, B, the yard, and C, it wasn't just about the milk. Dad had all the frozen food too, all the ice cream products. In fact, me and Tony made a career out of selling ice cream products to the neighborhood kids. We were popular. And who would have thought, because I did go out with the old man on Saturday milk runs when we were living up there, and who would have thought at what was that age? 9, 10. I would be eating mine food. Especially in my career, in the past 25 years now, I've been living out of a duffel bag, eating mine food. Who would have knew? I loved it back then, and I still love it now, as you can see. But as being in Maine, best milkman in town, his company sponsored the hockey team. And me and Tony were part of that deal. Remember the frozen toes, the hot chocolate, the steamed hot dogs, Tony? And watching Dad push the shovel cleaning the ice before practice. But he did her. He was also our coach, and he was a very passionate coach. I'm pretty sure that's the only time he'd get back at us for what we screwed up in the day, because he got away with yelling. Not that he wasn't short on corporal punishment. I still remember Mr. Brown. But that's what should happen now. More strappings. Look how I turned out. One of the best things about living up in Red Lake was I got a brother and sister. That's where Scott and Nicole entered our lives. So now what is that at this point? 5 frickin' kids. He's not even 23. I could tell you what I was doing at 23. So could you, Mike. But I choose to take the 5th on that. He was a much better man than me. So after his tenure as a big shot milkman, he decided to get into the grocery business, restaurant business, real estate business, and moved us to Mackenzie Island, another metropolis. But there was a lot of smartness in that, if you think about it. 5 kids, 5 mouths, grocery store with restaurant. Smart man, smart man. Too bad it wasn't a liquor store, too. Even when he was at the store, and I might as well say it, it was a failure. He had to pick up another job working at the mine, where he's known as Mr. OT, running grocery store, working at the mine, grabbing all the OT he can. The only reason the grocery store crashed was because he was was he a bad businessman? No, it was his heart, soft heart. There were a lot of old people that lived on the island, and he ran tabs. So he let them come in and buy all the groceries that they needed, wanted, and occasionally asked for money. But they give him the old song and dance, and Dad danced along, and he had too soft a heart. But that was Dad. So after the failure of the grocery business, he decided to move us to the metropolis of Edmonton. Thank God. That was in '79. Why, do you ask? Do I remember that so vividly? Mike, once again. Supertramp, Breakfast in America. My first rock concert. So we're there. Now recap it now. Tony's 17. Michelle is 15. Scott is 13. No, I got that wrong, sorry. I'm 17. Tony is 15. Michelle is 13. Scott is 8. And Nicole is 6. It's about 2 years later that Dad found his calling and started doing some form of highway driving. He started out hot shotting, and then he said, I'm a bigger man. So then he started driving a highway tractor. And that was the beginning of the end, or the end of the beginning. Whatever way you look at it, that's when he started his career trucking. I've not met a 30-year-old, because that's as old as Dad is at that time, right? That worked as hard as him and has raised him 5 kids. And I've met a lot of 30-year-olds out there being in the biz that I do now. And I have not come across one. That's a lot of people. But that was Dad. It was nothing to him to work hard to provide for his family and make sure we had everything. Dad didn't do it to be rich. He did it because he loved his family, and his richness was gained that way. I never felt like I was poor, ever. Right from the beginning with Dad being involved in my life. In fact, I felt the same as everybody around me. We never went without anything. I finally figured it out. I should say I grew up a bit and understood the math behind why he worked so hard and why he worked as much as he could. Right to those Saturday trips for me on the milk runs. He was working extra day to do that milk run. Grocery store, morning till night. The mine, he was known as Mr. O.T. Howell. It was us that meant the world to him. And for that, I'm a lucky man, and my brothers and sisters too. My dad loved family so much. That is what made him such a beautiful soul. Right from every son, daughter, niece, nephew, grandchild, great-grandchild, great-great-grandchild. It's a lot. He loved them all to the moon. He even knew all their names. Where I'm so lost. Never ever, if someone needed a hand, was he not there to help how he could. He was a pillar in our family. You could count on him. Day or night. I'm going to miss all the old man talks that we started having. Because, yeah, I got old just like him. Complaining about the government and actually agreeing with them. All those discounts we had, only to grow up and realize he was right all the time. Another one of my big regrets was not being able to tell him that. I never did get to tell him that he was right most of the time. But I know him. Even though I didn't say it, he knew I knew. You may have noticed that I referred to my dad as just that, Dad. I found this little excerpt that sums it up and why. Father is a formal term for the male parent, often emphasizing his biological or legal relationship, while dad is an informal, affectionate term that highlights the emotional and supportive role a male parent plays in a child's life. While father can describe the biological or adopted role, dad implies a deeper, more involved and loving connection with the child. That says it all right there. My dad was the true measure of what a dad is. Where it should be. I love my dad deeply. And just as important, if not more, I respected him as a man. If I can be half the man he was, I would count myself lucky. This may sound gruesome, but I have to say it. Best thing I've done as a man so far in my life is be there with him and hold his hand while he crossed over. I will always remember that moment and never forget it. My way of showing my respect and love for him. The man was a pillar for his family from day one. I sometimes wonder where the hell did he have the patience and strength? Because you need a hell of a lot of it in this family. But he seemed to do it without any hardship. And it was like he was meant to do it. Christ, anyone that can remember every name of every man, woman, and child in this family, and not just knowing their names, but knowing what the hell is going on in all their lives. Every one of us, right down to the great-grandchild, he knew everything about. It's a hell of a man. During the course of me working on this little verbiage, how can I keep his legacy alive of family closeness now that, unfortunately, I'm the patriarch of the family? I most certainly, I'll admit it, I can't be the pillar by myself. He put a high bar for us, for me. So, Tony, Michelle, Scott, 3 pillars. I'm the 4th pillar. It's up to us now. Keep his legacy alive. We need to talk more. Once a week, catch up, the Sunday call. Catch up. Help me remember all these names. It's another thing that I realized when I was doing this. And I want to acknowledge this. There was somebody else in our family that I didn't realize meant a lot to Dad. And the relationship that they had and the profound impact that happened to this person also. But out of respect for my father and to continue his legacy, Reese, you're the fifth pillar, brother. Okay? Brother. Okay? I didn't realize how close you guys got. You know, because I knew everything at 17 and left home, right? Love you, Dad. See you on the other side. It could be soon. Keep that fridge full of honey browns and tell Mom to get back in the kitchen. We have some catching up to do. And these words were words that finally we said all the time to each other. I don't know when it started, but love you, man, was how we always ended our conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken, for your words from the heart. What a gift to everybody here and to your dad. So thank you for sharing that with us. And that history, 14 years old, eh? Wow. Kind of makes sense why this family is so big and so young. So next I'm going to invite Rick's daughter, Michelle, forward, who will share a few words with us.
I don't want to follow him.
You're putting me in a spot here, girl.
Mine is like 2 minutes.
That's-
2 seconds maybe.
2 minutes is cool. It's okay. These are all friends. Is that your boy?
Yeah, this is
Awesome. Thanks for coming up with moments.
this is my baby.
And we'll grab some water, okay?
Okay. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do this, but I'm not going to look at anybody. I realized that I never spoke at my sister's, and I did resent that, and I never spoke at my mom's, and I resented that. And it wasn't until yesterday, actually, that I said, I need to say something, or I will regret it. And so I just threw something real small together, and it's definitely not, as Ken, I have to follow. Thank you. That's true. That is true. When someone says, I don't know what I'd do without my dad, I just stay quiet because I'm still trying to figure that out. I don't know how to explain what it feels like to live in a world where his voice is gone, where I can't just call him when life gets heavy, where I can't hear his advice, his laugh, or even his silence on the other end of the phone. I wish I could tell him how my day was. I wish I could have I wish he could have seen his grandkids grow. I wish they could have known the man who made me who I am today. The grief doesn't get lighter. You just get better at carrying the weight. But unfortunately, some days that weight still crushes you. And that's kind of what I put together. And Ken ended off by what Dad and him would say. And every time Dad and I talked, the last thing I would say to Dad is, love you and drive safe. And he would say, I will, sweetie. And that would be it. We'd go on with the day. So I just want to say, I love you, Dad, and drive safe.
Thank you for sharing those words with us. And I hope that those conversations never stop. You still keep that going, conversations with Dad. So important. Next, I'm going to invite his son Scott to come forward to share a few words with us. Got this, buddy.
You know, everybody kept asking me, how you doing? How you doing? And finally I just said, well, how do you think I'm doing? I lost my best friend, my dad, and my hero in a heartbeat. So I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm a fucking mess. And I've been busy the last couple of months, and I haven't had a chance to write a word down. And I spent lots of time thinking about everything and what I would say. And there's so many things to say, and I'm gonna wing it. And I hope if I pause, it's trying to find my train of thought. First, I want to thank everybody, everyone that made it, and everyone that traveled a long way to get here. To send off the greatest man I'll ever know. I'm so grateful that he's my dad. And he didn't know that for a long time. We barely spoke until I was probably 30. I mean, he was gone a lot, and then I was who I was in my 20s, an asshole. And yeah, so in his and we didn't see eye to eye, but until one day I did a lot of trucking with him when I was little, and I loved those moments when we go on trips, spend summers with him on the road with him, and we had great times. And then somewhere through the teens and 20s, we just went in different directions, as fathers and sons do. And I finally in my 30s wanted to truck. I always loved it, and so I begged him, and he said no. I said no. I said, you need drivers, Dad. No, I don't want this for you. I don't want this for my grandchildren. I said, but I'm working out of town anyway. No. So I called Ma. I called the boss. And she convinced him to give me a chance. And so he did, but he said to me, he said, I'm going to tell you what I tell all my other drivers. You keep up with me, and you'll be all right. We'll get along just fine. And that's not easy. But I'm just trying to keep up. Even, him and I haven't worked together in almost a decade, but I'm still just trying to keep up. And like Ken said, I tell him all the time, if I'm half the man, I turn out to be half the man you are, Dad, I'm doing just fine. And he said one day recently, he said, you've passed me a long time ago. I don't know if that's true. I'm just going to try to keep up. That's all I can do. Somehow along the way, I ended up with 5 kids. So I got a good start there. And 4 grandchildren, so. And I love them dearly, every one of them. And you're going to get to see a video tribute, and he's holding so many babies. And I got to tell him so many times, Dad, like, being grandpa is so awesome. It's the best. If you could just skip the dad part right to grandpa, because being dad, wow, that's a toughie. That one's tough. But grandpa's just fun. It's so much fun. And he enjoyed it. And I'm grateful for, when we were trucking together, we got to talk lots. And then I started working at the mine, and we didn't. And we both missed that. So I was pretty grateful to get laid off from the mine. And the last 7 months, we spoke twice a day. And even that last day. And but, like cell phones are, the call just drops. And I think, well, I'll talk to him tomorrow. No big deal. But tomorrow never came. So, like the other two said, we always said, I love you. I love you, and I love you, Pops. And I love you too, son. And didn't get that. So, I love you, Pops. And I'm just going to try to keep up. I just can't express like the love in this room for that guy. I spent the last couple months talking to old drivers of his and friends, and came to realize he had quite a few other sons out on that road that told me that they owe him everything. Some are here, some are watching on the internet, and we all shared a good cry a lot of times. He's a great man, great father, great dad, and a hell of a truck driver right to the end. I got to see the webcam or the dash cam footage, and impressive how a man's heart stops and he still manages to dodge 2 power poles and keep that sucker on its wheels and save the load. They just drove that thing out of the canola field the next day. I miss him every second of every day. This one's a big one. I wanted to thank everybody that has contributed to that GoFundMe. I know there's been some confusion on how does that connect, but everybody was asking me when he passed, is there a charity we should be giving to? And I was like, I don't have no idea. And then one of my closest friends of 30 years passed of a heart attack 2 weeks later, and left. And he had lost his wife 2 years earlier to a heart attack, and they left a 21-year-old and 14-year-old daughters without parents. And I said, that's it. that's what Dad would have done, because this family not only been intertwined in my life for the last 30 years, 40 years. So my father as well, he knew them, and one of the drivers that helped train me was their great uncle. So it just made sense that they're family, and I appreciate everybody that has contributed to helping those two girls, because they are little angels. And but put it in perspective, I was pretty mad. I was like, I only got 54 years with that man. What the heck? And then I'm like, wait a second. How dare you even feel anything but grateful for that time, when there's people out there that got 14 and 21 years with their dad. So yeah, I just thought I'd mention that, because some people were confused. They're like, why do we have this? And that's why. They're family. And I was starting to say, well, the Dad and I never, but we didn't see eye to eye till we were 30s, and when we started trucking together, running team. And as some of you know, running team, you are in each other's lap, and there's no getting away from each other, and you got to work it out. And it was easier than you'd think it was, because we realized very rapidly we're the same guy, and that's why we didn't get along. We had the same outlooks on a lot of things, and I'm grateful for the last 20-odd years of trucking, and him, instead of being my worst enemy, became my best friend, and the man that I try to keep up with. I could go on all day, I think. But I love you, Pops. And I'm grateful for everything that I am. It's because of you. And you're right, bro. We got to keep it going. Because it's what Dad needs. Anyway, thanks, everybody.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing your truth, your beautiful words from the heart. Thank you for that, Scott. And finally, his nephew, who he considered a son, Reese, is going to come forward and share with us.
I don't know, is everybody else hot? Because I'm sweating. So I don't know if it's because I was last to go here, but yeah, I think like everybody else, once this happened, we all started thinking of what we would want to say, but when the time comes, it becomes a little bit more difficult to put together. I do want to, like Scott, thank everybody for coming. I know there's lots of people that traveled a great distance across the country from other countries, and it's appreciated. I just have a couple of little things here to share. I used to be an apprentice. I'd get laid off in the wintertime, so I took up the genealogy of the family. Got real into that for a couple of winters. Auntie Deanna sent me everything she had. I went through all that, talked to some librarians out in Long Island. So our family actually helped settle Long Island in the 1600s. And I found that the first Howell, the first one of us, his name was Richard. In that book, it talks about what a great man he was in this little town of Southold. People would come to him when they needed something. And I just thinking of that over the last couple months, how fitting that the man that we lost was so special, just like that. We all went to him. He called all the time. There's nothing you could not talk to him about. So that's just a little side note. But most of you know my story. Some of you may not. But after today, you'll understand why he called me son and why he was so important to me. when I was a teenager, I was sent out to Alberta to live with the Howells, whom I actually never met, my father included. So it was pretty difficult. It didn't go very well, as most of you know. At 16, I found myself on the streets of Edmonton, bouncing around from couch to couch. Had to quit school, get a job. And then I was about 17, and then my phone rang one day. Cell phones had just kind of starting to kind of come out a little bit, but we still had a house phone. And it was Rick. And he offered a place in his home for me to have a safe place and to finish my high school. So it didn't take long for me to take up on that. And that was really good until my report card came home. And then I didn't live there anymore. But what most of you don't know is that when I left my father's home, I wasn't alone. I had my best friend, Keith, who also had a hard time with his parents, and we left home together. So I wasn't alone on the streets, bouncing from couch to couch. I had a good buddy. Unfortunately for him, he never got that phone call. And at about 30, he took his own life because he couldn't get through the, in and out of jail, things like that. So if anybody enjoys me in any kind of fashion, you have him to thank, because I don't honestly think I'd be here if it wasn't for that phone call. I don't know if I would have made it out. My friend didn't. There's about 10 years, kind of like in my 20s there, I was busy, wasn't too close, but we became very close over the last 10 years, especially after Auntie Eleanor passed. And he treated me, and I can see people in this room, like his father, daughter, granddaughters, like his own. There's so many of us that he touched that wouldn't be in the places that we are today if it wasn't for him. So we all know what a great man he is. I just wanted to reiterate that. But yeah, same thing. Left off every phone call with "Love you, son," and then "Love you, pops" back. So I don't have a ton to say. I could go on and on like everybody else, but yeah, great man. Be sorely missed by everybody, and I'm glad he made that phone call, because I don't even know if I'd know half of you if it wasn't for that. There's so many of you. Who's this? Well, that's your cousin so-and-so, and they're, part of the five brothers and sisters that are grandfathers and grandmother. Anyhow, I'm very grateful, and he'll be sorely, sorely missed, and I love him very much and miss him every moment. But I'm thankful for every little thing, all the conversations, the help, and I appreciate everyone coming here. Just a testament of what a man that he was. So thank you all, and I'll miss you, Pops, and love you. And it's not a day of mourning. We're here to celebrate and share stories. So when we're all done crying here, I want to see smiles and hugs and laughter, because that's what he would have wanted.
Thank you. These incredible stories of love. Thank you all for sharing. Well, I mentioned a little earlier that we would be opening the floor and inviting others forward who might have a short story or a memory to share. I'm going to do that now. I'm going to open the floor. If there is somebody that might like to come forward, sure.
No pressure.
And when you come up, I'll have you introduce yourself so people know who you are. Thank you.
Put my cheaters on so I can see my cheat sheets. You've heard the rest of the story. Let me tell you a bit about the beginning. I've probably known Rick longer than anybody in the room. Because I was 13 when he was born. And I knew everything. No, and you know, yet 13-year-old teenager, you know it all. Yeah. And he was 4 when I joined the RCAF. After boot camp, then 13 months in France with NATO, I knew I didn't know anything. So when I came home from France in 1957, I had a friend called Murray Shrum, and we lived on a little farm outside of Stratton, Ontario. And Murray Shrum had this great big truck, a tandem. It was huge for Rick at that time. So Murray would go by hauling gravel for the municipalities. And when I got home, Murray told me this story. Rick would run out to the end of the driveway and start waving at him, you know. And Mother would yell from the house, "Get back in the yard." Well, then Murray would yell from the truck, "It's okay, Mrs. Howell. I've got him. He just wants to go for a ride." So Mother knew that, well, I guess that's all right. And Murray was hired by the hour for the municipality to haul gravel, so he drove that truck 30 miles an hour up and down the highway. You know. So, and then Rick would get in the truck. And you'd say to Murray, "What's that big stick thing you got here in the middle of the truck?" You know. And Murray would say, "Well, just put your hand on mine and I'll show you." And then Murray, going 30 miles an hour, would go through all the gears, up and down and back and forth, you know. And Rick just kept his hand on top of Murray's. And that's how we got the trucking bug right there. Yeah. In 1957, when Rick was in high school in Kenora, he came to work for me in the summer up in Red Lake in the dairy business, and we were delivering milk commercially to stores and cafes. So I said, "Well, you're going to work for me. You got to get up at 6:30 in the morning, help me load the truck, and our first stop is the Lakeview Bakery and Cafe, and we got to be there at 7 o'clock when they open the door." I said, "Okay." So we did that for a couple of days. And you walk in that cafe at 7 o'clock and that bakery at 7 o'clock in the morning and smell that fresh bread and oh. So, and we always had breakfast there. I bought him bacon and eggs every morning. So a couple of days went by. I go to get him up in the room that he had at my place. Nobody's in the bed. I said, "What's going on here now?" I go out. The truck's already loaded. And he's sitting in this off seat waiting for me to get there by so we could get to that cafe by 7 o'clock to have bacon and eggs and fresh bread. And Lord, he loves a good meal. Yeah, so right then and there, I knew he's going to make this in life. He's going to make it. He's a hard worker. So, and like you've already heard, he did it. He did it. So, now you notice this wreath here? Maybe some of you don't know that he was a Legion member in Summerland, BC. And he made lots of friends there. And that's the wreath. And they just wanted to remember him today. And Scott, I'll talk to you later about what to do with it. If you don't mind me saying, his request was to scatter his ashes off of the Jackass Mountain in BC. And his friends requested that you throw the wreath off of that mountain also, so that he'll never feel alone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Is there anybody else that would like to come forward? Yep, we got this gentleman. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for being here. I'm Randy, I'm Rick's brother. And after the story that Frank told, I thought, for those of you in the room who have spent your time on the highway, just a little reminder of how that might have happened and you didn't even know it. Before Murray Shrum, and shortly after our brother passed, in that silence, I told his family this story that I never really thought about that much. That little farm that we lived on in Stratton, Ontario, in the back, in the trees out behind the barn buildings, there was an old red truck back there. There's no wheels on it. I don't know what was on it. It seemed to us, I guess, it sat on the ground. There was a driver's seat and a box on the other side. It was probably a 2.5 or a 3-ton truck with a 5-speed transmission. Rick was 11 months older than me. We were pretty close. Somehow, over months and years, the time we spent in that truck, sitting in that seat, making noises, we managed to worry that transmission into every gear. I don't know how it even happens, really. Thinking. All 6 positions, we could get it to go everywhere. And once we did, we could go anywhere. And we did. That's the beginning. That's how we ended up on the highway. Sharon and I spent 15 years out there ourselves, and I know what all of that feels like. But not like he did. He was weeks away from just stopping all that. But I don't think he was looking forward to it, really. I really don't. It was his life.
Hi, everybody. My name is Carmen Jacobson. I'm here to pay my respects for my family, in particular my dad, who considered Rick to be his best friend in the world. When I introduced myself to Scott, I said my last name, and I said he was my dad's best friend, and he looked blankly and a little awkward because he didn't recognize. I said, Jake? He went, oh, right. It was Jake, Connie and Jake, that's right. And my dad and mom are in Kenora watching this right now, and they'd be there here if they could. I'm going to try to keep this short because there was a big set of memories, and just plug into the stuff that wasn't said, because I realized while I was watching this that you don't need us to tell you who Rick Howell was. I think I just came here to tell you that we knew who he was, and he's so missed. We're from Kenora. That's where my dad grew up with Rick and Randy, actually. I'm going to check my notes here because I need to do a really good job if I can. And I've got lots of big shoes to fill. Everybody's speeches are just so heartfelt and amazing. They met when they were about 14, and my dad had this trap line that they would go out on. And they also were all about guitars and music. My dad's a lifelong musician. And they all kind of learned how to play together, and they would jam all the time. And then my mom met Rick when she was dating my dad, and they were all teenagers. And they'd play and spend a lot of time together. But they were all awfully, back in those days, they just don't make them like that anymore. Like was said a bunch of times, they were all in a big hurry to grow up, So when my dad was not even old enough he started working at the local paper mill in Kenora. And Rick was going to move to Edmonton for his gas fitter ticket, and Randy joined the Air Force. And my dad felt like he lost his two best friends. In the fall of '67, my parents got married, and Rick came back, and they spent the whole week partying really, really hard. they drank every day and had and it was my mom and dad said it was like this farewell festival to those young and carefree days. And of course, as everybody knows, not long after that, when Rick turned 18, he quickly showed up with Eleanor. Actually, he took a train to Kenora. I think my dad had to pick him up in Reddit. Not everybody will even know what that is, but if you know, you know. And then, he had to Rick came on a bus and then borrowed my dad's car to go pick his wife and kids up. And then the reception for the wedding, my parents stood up for Rick and Eleanor when they got married, and the reception was actually held at my parents' house, right where my dad had bought his parents' house anyway. It was all in the place where they grew up. And there's some notes here on some of the things like that Matheson Street home that you guys remember being on the lake, when in his Milk Route days. And then, of course, when they moved to Red Lake. And so this is how When he moved to Red Lake, they weren't around as much, right? And then he came and told my dad he was moving back out west, which of course you guys heard all about that. It's kind of cool to plug into the timeline, but he told my dad, you know, as hard as I'm going to go out west, and of course he was already a famously hard worker. But he told my dad and Mom, I'm going to go out west now, and I'm going to work as hard as I drank in Red Lake. And so it kind of marked the a turning point of, I mean, the legacy that he's created kind of started from that decision. It's really cool. He'd refer back to it sometimes when he was talking to my parents. And I just want to tell you that, you know, every part of his life and my dad's life, they would talk about these things, and he'd come and visit, and he would share terrible things that happened. It wasn't an easy life. He lost his daughter, you know, and later Eleanor, but he had a phrase. He would say, Jake, I'm still standing. And my dad we kind of have that's a quote. We'll quote Rick when there's a tough time and say, well, I'm still standing. And this January or February, we lost my brother. And so I just want to say I'm so grateful that Rick was still here when that happened, for my dad to be able to share that with him, because he was the only person that really understood the loss really exactly, but Rick. So I just want to say if there's anything else I need to say. Like I said, there's some notes on who Rick was, but you know what a great guy he was, and you know how hardworking, you know how much he loved his family, you know how loyal he was. And I just came here to tell you that my parents, my dad, knew that, and he's very missed somewhere in northwestern Ontario, barely on the map. But I have to say that when Rick was born and they were building that highway, they built it smack through Kenora, Ontario. They had to build a bypass in the 80s. And I'm going to finish by just telling you that myself, because of the way that the two families were far apart, you know, and being a kid, actually I was about Nicole's age, and it felt like I met Rick in my young teens, and it really resonated when Scott said that he was an asshole. So was I. So it wasn't meeting Rick, but I was so young that I didn't remember. So I came into the house one day, and there's Rick and Eleanor sitting at my parents' table, and they're all carrying on like old days. And I had had a very recent fight with my dad and had a massive attitude problem. And I was probably about 14 years old at the time. And I came in, and my dad was like, Carmen, look, it's my friend. Do you remember Rick? Rick and Eleanor here. He's really happy. And I mustered every fiber of my being to give Rick the most withering look that I could. I said nothing. I just looked him up and down. It was hostile. This was at my dad. I didn't know. And what do you think Rick did? I mean, anyone else, I feel, would just quietly want to spank me. Rick fell off his chair almost laughing. He laughed so hard, and my dad said, what's the matter? And I sassed my dad a bit. And Rick said, don't worry, Jake, I got one of those at home. Anyway, I immediately loved him. I mean, it's impossible not to love him, and that laugh is just legendary. I'm sure every one of you is going to miss that for the rest of your life, hearing that laugh. But for me, I loved him after that forever, and I always thought it would just life being what it is. You know, I got to wish him a happy birthday, his last birthday on Facebook, but I actually never got to see him again because I moved, and then he was here and there. But I've always loved Rick Howell, and I just felt so seen, you know, and he just had such a huge heart. Anyway, that's all I have to say, and I just wanted to, on behalf of my whole family, especially my dad, to just offer our sincerest and deepest condolences for your loss. And I I know how much you're going to miss him. I can only imagine. So God bless Rick.
All right, and we have one more speaker that's going to come forward. No.
Hi, I'm going to try and do this without the tears that I've been shedding, so it's going to work. Anyway, I'm Deanna. I'm Rick's sister, Randy's sister, Frank's. And I just want to tell you a little bit about I was 7 when Rick was born, and so I watched him grow up, and I helped him get into trouble and helped him get out. And some of the things that Randy was afraid I'd talk about, he said, I didn't do it. But what I'd like to talk about is the musical talent that we all know Randy has, and Rick had, and I play, and came from our dad. He played guitar, and Mom played the auto harp, and I can remember when we were little, there always being music in that little house we lived in, and the cowboy songs that Dad taught us, and we probably still know all the words to. So Dad taught me. They bought me my guitar when I was 12, and my dad taught me 9 chords. And so when the boys grew up a little bit, I passed those 9 chords on to them, and I still only know 9 chords. Randy's kind of surpassed that. And we're going to hear him sing in a little bit. But I was around when Rick was little, and sort of helped raise him. At times did a lot of babysitting. And but these last few years, we got to know each other all over again, and I got to ride with him in his big truck from Edmonton to Vancouver so I could go home, and it was great. We sang cowboy songs the whole way and just had a great time. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and we were going to do that again, but fate jumped in. But I miss him dearly, and I will continue to miss him. And all the people that are here, that the lives that he touched. And I know not everybody here is related to him, but a good portion are. And so I'm Auntie Deanna to a lot of you. And I just wanted to say that from the sister side of this family, we miss him. We miss him terribly, and I will never part with this picture. Thank you.
Thank you, Deanna. And one final lady wants to come up? Okay. Okay, and then we've got one more, and then we're going to move forward, okay? Yeah, we got it. Let's stop.
I'm Samantha Fuller. I'm one of the 700 grandchildren. There are, like many people, I took many times going over the things I would like to say. And there are many, many memories that I hold dearly. The first one would be when my mother called him at a ridiculous hour at night because I wanted to eat rice, and she just couldn't deal with me anymore. And he got me in the truck, and he was quiet for a minute, and we were both quiet, and I was crying, and he looked at me and he said, "Yes, you are stubborn and you have an attitude, but I think your mother forgets where you get that from." And one day, you are going to move mountains with that stubbornness and attitude. And he stood by my side the rest of my life while I stumbled and I fell and I crawled and I cried and made some pretty poor choices in my life, but he never looked at me differently. And he never made me feel any less of a person. And I'm very grateful for that because and I needed that. I needed somebody in my life, and my grandpa held that role, not just for me, but for many of us in this room. And I don't know where I'm gonna find that anymore. But I look in the clouds, and a lot of times I'm looking in the clouds because my mom's there, my grandma's there. And now the man who took a huge part in raising me is also there. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the memories. There was a time I left my blanket in Ontario on a trip, and I forgot it. It was my baby blanket. I was 12 years old and probably shouldn't have a baby blanket, but I did. And I looked at my grandpa. I said, "Grandpa, my baby blanket, I left it in the hotel room." And he called the hotel and he made sure they held on to that blanket so he could go get it for me the next time he went out to Ontario. That's the kind of man my grandpa was. I love you, Grandpa, forever.
And we have one final speaker, and then we're going to move forward, so thank you.
I know you already said it was the final, but I just had to say something. My name is Brenda Klemke, and I was a fly on the wall in the office for about 4 years in 2014 and following. Well, actually more than that, but anyway. I just want to tell you that I overheard many of those conversations when you called Rick. And you were in trouble on the other end, or whatever the case, whatever happened. And that man was a man who loved you dearly, and it shone through everything. While he was answering that call, somebody else was in the ditch, and he was trying to get them out of the ditch, and he was trying to get Mom Eleanor's hair combed back at Uville, and all the different things that he was just doing this all the way around. But it was because he loved you all so very dearly, and that was evident to the fly on the wall.
Thank you, ma'am. Earlier, we heard Rick's brother, Randy, shared a few words. These boys are born 10 months apart, and Randy would like to come forward. You may have seen some instruments here. He's going to come forward and play some special songs for us on his guitar, and I invite Randy forward to do that at this time.
Don't know why God always takes the good ones first. But Man, I tried to be strong and carry on, but damn, this hurts. I just wish that I could talk to you again somehow, somewhere, even if it's for a moment, just to hear you say, don't cry for me, I'm alright. Better than you know. This life can be a shorter ride, so don't waste it on sorrow. Just hold on to the moments, the memories we share. We're both headed for the same place anyway. I just beat you there. I know they say, just give it a little time, it'll be okay. Well, that might be true, it don't really help me today. We ain't supposed to question the man upstairs. There's just so much I don't understand. It just don't seem fair. Don't cry for me, I'm alright. Better than you know. This life can be a shorter ride, so don't waste it on sorrow. Just hold on to those moments, memories we share. Headed for the same place anyway. I just beat you there. As each day goes by, I get a little stronger. Don't stop me from wishing you were here just a little bit longer. I'm gonna smile when I think of you, like I know you want me to. I know you're watching over me, everything I do. All those things I never got to say, I'll send them with this prayer. And look up, wipe my tears and raise my beard. I'll see you there. I'll see you there. Would you know my name if I saw you in heaven? Would it be the same if I saw you in heaven? I I must be strong and carry on, for I know I don't belong here in heaven. Would you hold my hand if I saw you in heaven? Would you help me stand if I saw you in heaven? Find a way through night and day, 'cause I know I just can't stay here in heaven. Time can bring you down, can bend your knees. Time can break your heart, babe, you begging please, begging please. Beyond the door, there's peace, I'm sure, and I know there'll be no more tears in heaven. Would you know my name if I saw you in heaven? Would it be the same if I saw you in heaven? I must be strong and carry on, 'cause I know I don't belong here in heaven.
Thank you, Randy. Incredible voice. What a gift to everybody today. Well, folks, I hope that you leave here today with your hearts full of love, remembering that what we've done here today is what communities do in times of loss. We surround those who are hurting with kind of a safety net, helping them feel supported in this new and difficult reality. I'm deeply grateful for the love and care shown to Rick's family in the days leading up to today and for your presence here now. As we move forward, let us continue to hold them in our thoughts and prayers and make the effort to check in on them, because healing from loss takes time, and people often find themselves lonelier than ever after days like today. Everybody else's life they get back to life, and life continues on. And those with hurting hearts, they find themselves in a real dark place after today. So let's not forget them. Let's check in on them. Maybe they need a skip the dishes card. Maybe send some food over. I don't want 500 frozen lasagnas showing up on Scott's doorstep, but you know what I'm saying. Keep them in our hearts and minds. Rick Howell, your family and friends are truly grateful to you for all you brought into their lives. Nobody knows what life will be like going forward from today, but what we do know is that you'll be along for the ride, my friend, because you are in hearts so deep with love and that love in your spirit will stay with everyone who loves you forever. I want to thank Alexandra and the entire care team here at Serenity Funeral Service for the compassion and support you've shown to Rick's family in the days leading up to today, and for so warmly welcoming us to your funeral home today. The work you do for families with broken hearts is remarkable, so often carried out quietly behind the scenes, and we are truly grateful for your dedication and care, so thank you. As we near the conclusion of our formal time together, this isn't the end of the social time, that's coming. I'd like to share a poem called All Is Well by Oliver Wright. Perhaps it's a little message from Rick to his family and friends. And the poem goes something like this. It says, all is well, death is nothing at all. I have only slipped into the next room. I am I, and you are you. Whatever we were to each other, that we are still. Call me by my old familiar name. Speak to me in the way you always used. Put no difference in your tone. Wear no forced air of solemnity or sorrow. Laugh as we always laughed at the little jokes we enjoyed together. Play, smile, think of me, pray for me. Let my name be ever the household word that it always was. Let it be spoken without effect, without the trace of shadow on it. Life means all that it ever meant. It is the same as it ever was. There is unbroken continuity. Why should I be out of mind because I'm out of sight? I am waiting for you for an interval somewhere very near, just around the corner. All is well. So, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for being here to honor Rick and to support his family. After our time together here in the chapel, his family invites you all to remain here in the funeral home for a time of light refreshments and fellowship and some lunch. Before we adjourn, Rick's family has put together a video tribute of photographs of his lifetime. Photos certainly help share the story of somebody's life, and we're going to play that as we conclude. Following the video tribute, the staff will be coming forward to assist Rick's family from their seats first. And once that happens, you're all more than welcome to make your way to the food tables in the rear of the chapel. So thank you once again, and enjoy this video tribute.
Opened up my eyes, and I don't wanna leave your side for that lonesome road. But here I go, climbing back behind the wheel of 50 feet of chrome and steel and a load they need in Chicago. Through the middle of the night unknown, on a ride that won't let me go. I'm an asphalt cowboy, born to run underneath the stars. Pay no mind to my lonely heart. I just ride till I'm back in your arms again. I'll be out here on the wind. Sometimes late at night, I see your picture by the dashboard light, and it takes me where I'd like to be, wrapped up in a blanket there, pulling ribbons from your hair and your kiss. Girl, that's what I miss. drive these horses through the rain and snow. This high-speed rodeo is all I know. I'm an asphalt cowboy, born to run underneath the stars. Pay no mind to my lonely heart. I just ride till I'm back in your arms again. I'll be out here on the wind, and I'll ride till I'm back in your arms again. I'll be out here on the wind, and I'll ride through the middle of the night unknown. I'm on a ride that won't let me go.
I've been warped by the rain, driven by the snow. I'm beat down and dirty, and don't you know that I'm still reeling? Well, out on the road late last night, I saw my pretty Alice in every headlight. My Alice, my Dallas Alice. And I've been from Tucson to Tucumcari, to Hatchapee to Tonopah. I've driven every kind of rig that's ever been made. I've driven the back roads so I wouldn't get wet. And if you give me wheat, white sand wine, and you show me a sign, I'll be willing to be moving. I've been kicked by the wind, robbed by the sleet, had my head stove in, still on my feet, still willing.
Oh, I've smuggled some smoke, some folks up from Mexico, baked by the sun every time I go to Mexico. And I've been from Tucson to Tucumcari, to Hatchapee to Tonopah. I've driven every kind of rig that's ever been made. I've driven the back roads so I wouldn't get wet. And if you give me wheat, white sand wine, and you show me a sign, then I'll be willing to be moving. Tucson to Tucumcari, to Hatchapee to Tonopah. I've driven every kind of rig that's ever been made. I've driven the back roads so I wouldn't get wet. And if you give me weed, white sand wine, and you show me a sign, well, I'll be willing. Oh, I'll be willing. I'll be willing to be moving. You know there's a light that glows by the front door. Don't forget the keys under the mat. When childhood stars shine, always stay humble and kind. Go to church 'cause your mama says to. Visit grandpa every chance that you can. It won't be wasted time. Always stay humble and kind. Hold the door, say please, say thank you. Don't steal, don't cheat, and don't lie. I know you got mountains to climb, but always stay humble and kind. When the dreams you're dreaming come to you, when the work you put in is realized, let yourself feel the pride, but always stay humble and kind. Don't expect a free ride from no one. Don't hold a grudge or a chip, and here's why. Bitterness keeps you from flying. Always stay humble and kind. Know the difference between sleeping with someone and sleeping with someone you love. I love you ain't no pickup line, so always stay humble and kind. Hold the door, say please, say